Good morning. Kimberly Overman, 4610 North Central Avenue. I'm imploring you to recognize that the community is very upset about the process of having TBX go through our communities. I'm encouraged from what I've heard today. It sounds as though council is very empathetic to what's going on in the community. This business area has actually fought very hard to recover during this time period. And my biggest concern is if we are in fact voting on allocating, what was the dollar amount?
24.6.
24.6
for acquisition.
For acquisition of properties that eliminates property tax from ever being collected on that property again. It also eliminates any of the sales taxes that might be generated from the businesses that are on those properties. And that doesn't count the properties that FDOT has already purchased over the years when we were talking about having high-speed rail land in the middle of the city, of which those properties lay vacant, boarded up, and harming the economic development of these communities that have fought so hard. So please, please make sure that the CRA is very much considered in the amount of tax revenues and tax credits that the community will lose as a consequence of considering TBX as part of our overall economic plan. Using transit is a way of actually solving some of our needs. Having buses and helping our businesses grow will solve a lot of our needs. But destroying the community fabric in order to do that shall not be done again, in my opinion, if we are good stewards of what we're supposed to be doing for our community. What happened to Central Avenue businesses, to the large population of African American communities that were a strong economic engine for the city of Tampa, had it destroyed when the interstate went through the first time, and to not honor what was happened there. We just had a park that just got opened up to celebrate what was lost and trying to regain it, and spent a lot of money making that happen. We need to not forget. That's very important to not only the current residents here, but the business owners that are developing and risking their resources to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello. Kevin Thurman, 111 North 12th Street, Tampa, Florida. I first wanted to say I'm really glad that the CRA is taking this issue, because TBX affects the majority of CRA districts, including the downtown one that I was on the CRA advisory board on before, and the Channel Side one that I live in now. I think it's really important that the FDOT understands that this body exists to make sure that the blight that we created, a redevelopment authority, is something that shouldn't be continued, and not only not continued, but our taxpayer dollars shouldn't be to create more of it. And it is your job, and I'm glad you are doing it today, to protect these areas from blight, to protect your millions and millions of dollars of investments that you put into these areas so that they can continue to grow. I want people to understand that part of that investment is the key. But I did want to take a second that I kind of have to change the second half of my thing because of something that Gene Duncan said that I want to make very, very, very clear. And that is not a single dollar of the Go Hillsborough plan that people are putting forward is dependent on, needs anything to do with TBX. I hope that we can kill TBX and don't have to worry about a single bit of that money. I don't understand why she would actually say that. I hope that the city corrects that issue, and I hope that you guys each ask the city to clarify why they would even possibly say that. Now, the study for the overall CSX tracks obviously has something to do when we're talking about investing 52% of our sales tax into alternatives for driving. But when we're looking at what we're going to do here, the choice about what we face on TBX is exactly what we see. No matter whether you love every single bit, and I'd like to see a lot more transit in Go Hillsborough, as everybody knows. But here's the thing about it, as a community, no matter what compromise we've reached with county residents, the city of Tampa is spending the vast majority of its money on complete streets and on transit. And we're talking about over a 30-year time period, over 70-some-odd%. That is the statement that no matter whether you think it should go further, we're making very clear FDOT spends a small fraction of the amount of money that they spend in our community on anything like those alternatives. And that is the key thing that we need to understand. And that is why these two things are so completely different. And why I have always opposed TBX, and I'm happy that you guys are standing up and doing what you're doing here today. But we'll always also argue that we need more transit funding, so that we're not looking at bus routes that run every hour. So we're looking at bus routes that run every 15 minutes. So that we're investing in rail, like the conversation that we're talking about in the studies that we're doing. And so that we have the money to take advantage of opportunities. And that if we can beat FDOT back from TBX, then we have billions of dollars that they've already said need to go into this community. And I think the last thing I want to make very clear is you should absolutely delay everything until that transit study is done on June 22nd. They shouldn't buy another piece of property until they know how they're going to be spending all of the billions of dollars in this community.
No? Thank you.
Good morning, Neil Costantino, 708 South Davis Boulevard. I want to share with you, there's going to be a global mobility think tank formed. And the they'll deal with air, land, and sea transportation. One of the reasons for doing this is we have Qatar, we have the NPO, we have Tabarda, we have Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, and we have all these entities out there, and we still don't have a consolidated bus system. Everybody's talking rail. We have 10 bus systems. We haven't even consolidated them yet. Now, how can that be? Well, with the think tank, we'll come back and explain why that didn't happen and why it should happen. There is another very, very important issue that deals with eminent domain of property. $1 billion, Drew Park was purchased, all that property, and taken off the tax rolls. If private enterprise bought all that property, it would have stayed on the tax rolls. But because the airport authority bought it, it came off the tax rolls. So that tax has to be made up by us. Okay. Now we look at Gandy Boulevard. Eventually they're going to eminent domain property on the north side and the south side of Gandy Boulevard when they put in the second bridge. When that property is taken off the tax rolls, guess who has to make up for the taxes? The people of Tampa. Now you would say the argument is we're going to put in this connector because everybody in Tampa Bay is going to benefit. Pinellas and so forth. But who pays for it every year? The taxpayers of Tampa pay for it. And when they domain property, if they do, on that TBX, and all that property is taken off the tax rolls, you could say, well, everyone's going to benefit from it. But who pays for it? The city of Tampa taxpayers pay for it. So this is an important issue when you look at, and it's every year. It's not just one time. It's every year we have to make up for the taxes that are lost. So this will be an issue we'll bring back. We'll bring back the issue of consolidating our bus systems before we even think about a rail system. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Council. My name is Rick Hernandez, 2906 North Elmore Avenue, Tampa, Florida. That's in Tampa Heights. I'm the president of the Tampa Heights Civic Association. First of all, thank you all so much for the amount of time that you've devoted to this issue today. It was great sitting in the audience and hearing a lot of the things that we've been saying and thinking now for the better part of a year coming back to us from the dais. That's very heartwarming and frankly emotional for me, so thank you for that. I was, I guess, to some degree responsible for at least one item on the agenda regarding congestion pricing. I penned an article that appeared in 83rd Degree or 83 Degree on March 1st in which I raised the issue of congestion pricing. FDOT was asked to come here and talk about that today. I didn't hear a lot about congestion pricing in Mike's presentation, not even the definition of it, so I thought I'd offer that to you. And to let you understand why it is that I got on that track to begin with, because every time I showed up for an FDOT presentation, regardless of the venue, the sales pitch has always been that TBX and express toll lanes are a choice. This is the sales pitch, this is the marketing piece behind the Tampa Bay Express concept. And for the life of me, I was having a hard time finding much in the way of choice related to TBX. It seemed that this was something that was being crammed down our throats, not a choice issue at all. So I rooted into what the economic principle was behind the express tolling concept, which led me to the Federal Highway